I think now the biggest way to even enthrall people my age that I've seen, or even a little bit older, um, is relatability. Like, and it's not related because people are a lot of people, politicians, not even politicians, but a lot of people have similar backstories, but they're similar in ways that are not in like you have black children, and it's a running joke that most black children all live the same childhood. We all interacted the same ways or had heard certain things from our parents, like don't be running inside and out of my house, come back before the street lights on, stuff that you can relate to. And that's one reason why a lot of young people rallied behind the candidate Jamal Green,
Mm-hmm.
because he was young and he had that perspective that he was tired of being told by the people of an older generation that he was too young to know what he was doing. While he was too young and too inexperienced, it's never a good thing to hear you are too young to do, because age and I said this and my grandmother staunchly disagreed, but I believe that age and maybe I shouldn't use the word wisdom, but age and ability have nothing to do with each other, because you have old people who cannot do their jobs, and you have young people who can do those jobs much better than the people who are 60 and 70 and 80 years old in these jobs. Why? Because they're not 60 and 70 and 80 years old in these jobs, and they understand what's imperative and what's important now. And so I think the best way to bridge that gap would be fundamentally to understand what is necessary or what is popular in the minds of children who are just now graduating high school to those who are getting ready to go into like their junior year of college.
Okay, so would us creating some surveys, do you think that they would answer the surveys? Because I think it's really important not to just talk about this, but to really get some substance. So if we are able to, as we're able to gather this information, what we want to do in real time is to get this information back to the candidates and to see and
Well,
know how they're going to be answering these questions. So
the best way
as
to do
we,
that is, and they do it on YouTube all the time. YouTube's have surveys paid for by local candidate campaigns or whatever fundraisers. Um, and if Mr. What is I can't even Johnson were to win the mayorship, he would have the direct control as to what you survey kids. CPS students every year do a what they call a 5 essential survey created by the University of Chicago. So why not?
Interested. Interesting. Okay. Naima Latif, welcome to the show. Who else came on since we started? Anybody? Welcome to the show. I'm sorry, Libet, you were gonna say something?
no, but I was cut off from what TJ was saying in the at the end, the last statement he made.
Oh, okay, TJ, would you repeat that last
Well, I was
statement?
just saying that if Brandon Johnson were to win the election, he would be in direct control of, well, not direct control, but he would be in somewhat control over what surveys reach high school seniors specifically. And said that to say that even University of Chicago issues a is actually not even yearly as much as it is, I think, is bi-yearly survey to all CPS students.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. You have a comment, Libet?
Um, what I did want to follow up with is Jamal Green.
Yes.
He's already supporting Brandon Johnson, and
Oh,
so I
okay.
think that we can reach out to him to
Yes.
see maybe what role he can play in um, being that catalyst from the city
That's a
to the
great
young.
idea. That's a
And
great idea.
I think that Brandon Johnson should give him an opportunity to take some leadership role in that.
Yes, yes,
you know.
yes. I
So
agree.
I'm just writing it down.
Other comments? We're trying to bring the youth. No, we're not trying. We're going to bring the youth to a forum on the west side and the south side so that they can express their opinions and feelings and ask questions of the candidates. We want them to know these people and listen to what they say they're going to do. Then look at their records. Let's see what they've already done. What have they already supported or not supported? What do you want your next mayor to bring to its residents? Let's think about that. Jerry, I know you got a comment. No? Brian?
Brandon Johnson, he is in favor of gig workers and would be instrumental in getting helping gig workers like pass a living wage for gig workers in the city of Chicago.
Right.
And also beefing up safety for gig workers in the city of Chicago. Now, from what I also understand, maybe on the flip side of things, he's what they call is believed to be liberal and in favor of quote unquote defunding the police, which I don't agree with that, but I think
now can I just interject, Brian? Now, okay, you said a liberal defunding the police. It's almost like that is conspiracy theory, sort of, and I know that it's been that kind of terminology is floating, but as I understand defund the police, it is something that someone made dirty. When Obama was talking about defunding the police, he was speaking on getting military weapons, selling local municipalities of police buying tanks and military style weapons. And so that's the defund. So we may need to change the word and say reappropriate the funding, where some of that funding goes to a social aspect where counselors are deployed, and I would say armed, but they would have training to go and be the first the first responders to circumstances that would require a first responder. And so that diverting some of those funds to those agencies that can help more so than hurt. So we should understand that that doesn't mean taking money from the police for our safety. That means just improving the way that policing is deployed within the community. So we need to ask him that question too. What do you really mean by defunding the police? Because right now it's just a phrase that people say, well, he just wants to defund the police without really understanding what defund the police really means. Because I wouldn't want anybody to take away the police's ability to police, because I call the police.
I would argue that the purpose that modern day, police officers have served since police officers have become a thing, because police officers obviously weren't always a thing. When you get to cities, you have what they called, in smaller territories, you had sheriffs, then constables. Chicago at one point had what they called a high constable. But the overall meaning of police officers, and I said this like 2 shows ago, was you get off the plantation, you get from overseer to officer. So and a lot of police officers have really adopted that mentality. So what I think we have to focus on now in terms of police does not need to be defunding them, but you have to reappropriate those funds. Those funds cannot, and you cannot just get some whack job off the street and give him the job. And the point
Like that.
that you have to see is that, first of all, and I had one of my assistant band directors, a retired police officer, and his statement that he made to me is, "You gave a bunch of guys who cannot, because at one point police officers could fight." That's what he said. You give a bunch of guys who cannot fight some guns, and what's the first thing they're going to use when they get into that situation? The gun. And what's their excuse going to be? I was intimidated in a situation by somebody who did not have a gun. So you pretty much set up the world, and then you have this idea of what they call probable cause, to which is so based on the officer's discretion that it serves no purpose. It's basically a pass for officers just to do what they want to do and say, well, I felt this way. Your feelings do not dictate reality or what was or is going to happen. And so we have to get out of this mindset of police officers just being the lawgivers. They are not. They enforce what laws are handed down to them. And as soon as we can get that through their heads and through the heads of these officers, because you see, even under the leadership of a black superintendent, you still had them killing brown and black boys. So it's not a matter of race or who is in charge, what race is in charge. It's a matter of mindset and in rooting, getting the root cause out. And one of the main causes you have is the Fraternal Order of Police, who proudly and who endorsed Paul Vallis, and he's so proud to have that endorsement.
There you go.
So it's just
tell it.
reappropriate the funds and getting them and putting those funds in places that allow for police officers to become more effective human beings. Because as soon as you take that idea of humanity away from them, then they get into this RoboCop idea where they just do what they want to do. They beat the heck out of you because you are not like them.
Come on now.
Now, what we voted for, there were three people in my ward that was on the ballot for this new policing council. I know one of the persons that was voted, and I know that they're an advocate for safety. So in every police district, there was a vote to add these people to this think tank so that it can be more personable communication with police. So that, I think that may be a good thing. So, it just happened, and let's see how we can make those people that we voted in accountable to get this information that we see as safety issues back to the police, as far as how we want them to change their behavior, and have it recommendations coming from community to the new police council to the police. So that's a system that's been just put in place in Chicago, and we'll see how that works.
I was listening. My phone had gone out. This is Karen, Abana. Asking him on the show. I'd also like to suggest to ask Dr. Wilson, because he had a meeting on the South Side on Saturday, and that was the whole purpose of the meeting, is where should he put his support? And so he's asking that, of course, the group is age, but
you going in and out, Karen. You going in and out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it's an older group, but either way, you still have the older group is the steady voters. That's the one they depend on. And so I was surprised at the people who were, it was more, of course, people going for Brandon Johnson. It surprised me about Paul Vallis, but then it made me think about the fact that it brought me right back to the Harold Washington piece that, oh, okay, Paul Vallis is that great white hope to a lot of African Americans, so therefore they would kind of fall that way because that's what they, they have not moved beyond that pattern of thinking. But the
Mhm.
go Brandon, so he would be a good person he or someone from his camp would be a person, him, or what's his name? Commissioner, God, what's his name?
Who you
Dear,
talking about?
Commissioner Dear.
Boykins.
Oh, Boykins.
Yeah. And have him come in and talk because it is, they're doing, CPS is doing some amazing things about the elections. They're knee deep in it. And
Really?
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely, where you can get kids to be a part of the system and talk about it because it's
Okay.
civics. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Well,
So,
that's what we want to do.
Well,
mhm.
Abina, we would like for you to join us. This is we actually had a conversation with the campaign connection last night, and so this is something that we would need our people to help us find the youth and 18 to 24 and to let them know what it is that we're putting together. We've got to finalize some things, but that's going to be part of getting out the vote. And that is registering to vote because we still have a window to register. And I just had a conversation with a young 30-year-old woman who said she didn't vote this past election, and she was reluctant to even talk about it. And I was, sort of taken by it, but I just said to her, because I had to go, I'm going to call you back. And I just want to have the right words to say to her to see the importance of what's happening before us.
Well, Lavette, the thing is why she's like that? Because my mentor, my mentor is 35 years old. Okay. So this guy is he's a millennial. I'm a baby boomer. So, I'm very comfortable being who I am, being when I was born. I'm not trying to get in their business. And at this point, that age group really believes that we failed them. They're a little upset with us. But those who understand history is a lot different. So it's like I'm going to send PT Man, this closing the gap between the suburbs and the city, because everyone is basically having the same challenges regarding our youth, understanding them and closing that gap with them. So I'm going to send it to Wanda, what they're doing. You know, I'm a part of that group, but it's an urban ministry. Urban ministry is urban and suburban. So having urban ministry and suburban ministry connect with one another. I was at a meeting yesterday of Crossroads. I didn't know. I really did not know that you could have Bible classes in the school, in after school program. Did you know that?
No, I
No.
didn't.
But the churches, because they would be basically, the churches would have to adopt the school, and it would be a church-led thing. It's called Crossroads. And just, I mean, because you're pulling out, no matter what anyone says, we have always and will always be a sanctuary city. This city has always had many people in it, so to even play like it's not a sanctuary city is insane. But the thing is our kids go into classrooms and the communities are built inside those classrooms. That's when the language starts changing. You see what I mean? And so if we connect with like PT Man and make like and you have to bring the older people together with them. We have to come with them because they have to know that they have a platform. They're not building anything new, Livette. We've been through this before. We were here when those tanks was going down Madison Street during the civil rights movement. If may have been a baby, a little younger, but I remember it during the King assassination when the West Side was aflame. I mean, the West Side.
I watched it from my grandmother's building.
Okay, and you can remember it. See, and that's the way the young people are. These people remember everything. This is where our highest intelligence is from fourth grade. No, actually from second grade all the way to the 12th grade. This is where your philosophical thinkers are anyway. You know, so talk to them. You know, you have to talk to them at your level.
Sorry.
All right, Naima, welcome to the show. Naima. Okay. See if I can send her a little note.
Mama
Brian, Sandra, anybody else got any comments? Jerry, haven't heard from you. Okay, guys, this is an exciting topic. We trying to get our youth out. Give us some ideas. Give us some strategy.
Well, I took some ideas from the youth, and I actually wrote them down, and going to really take it seriously about connecting with Jamal Green.
Okay.
About touching base on reappropriating funding, and communicating much better how young people want to be communicated to. Okay. And so, TJ, when we're ready with the surveys and we understand how we're going to roll that out, because you said that we could even do it through YouTube. And so just want to take all of this in, because the window is not open that wide from here to election. And so this is going to be ongoing conversation. And I think this is an everyday dialogue until we get the word out that we, in most of the wards, you had some aldermen win out of 20,000 people, only about 5,000 to 6,000 people came out to vote. Right. So that's not representative of the whole ward. So we've got to do better. And if that's making this communication piece the thing that we drive home, we want to do it through print as well. So we're just really asking everyone on here, to help us, no matter who you want. I know I'm for Brandon, but Brandon Johnson, but whoever you want, then help get the word out to get people to the polls to vote.
And I want you guys. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I
have a question for TJ. Could you give us or share with us, because we would know more about them if we watch Netflix. I mean, do you have?
I'm sorry, you cut out.
Karen. Karen, you dropped off.
Okay, I'm sorry. TJ, could you suggest some programs? Because I know you are listening to the Divine Comedians like Chris Rock and Chappelle and all those guys. If you could share with seniors, I mean locally with us, who to listen for, because we're going to hear the same thing from those Divine Comedians that we were hearing from Richard Pryor, Flip Wilson, and those guys back in those days.
Actually, I watch a lot of different comedians because, TikTok is very prevalent. There's a guy by the name of Hannibal Buress. You might have heard of him. T. Murph, he's from Chicago, actually. Both Hannibal Buress and T. Murph are from Chicago. But beyond that, comedy wise, I focus on a few other things. Like I watch the Daily. So
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Daily Show actually is very informative because it gives you a political view and it get kind of jokes around a lot. And their host Trevor, well, the former host Trevor Noah, he's hilarious. He's gone now. He's left the show, but he's a great guy to listen to if you want to even get an insight into racism from a perspective of not only were you receiving racism from white people, and you were receiving it from black people too, and not for you being black only, but for you being mixed. So it's a really wide spectrum that he provides a lot of insight into common American issues that we experience every day.
Thank
Trevor
you.
Noah is a very powerful man. Is it possible that maybe if we could get we could gather some seniors together to do that, to watch him and listen to him, because he explains it. I mean, I fell in love with him and watched all of his programs, you know, how he explains it. He's funny, but at the same time, that black and white issue, because he's half German and half, what is this, the other part of him, TJ?
He's half South African,
Yeah, 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 you
native
know,
South African, not the white South African. Rhodesia.
absolutely. Right, right. Well, see, and that's
Now,
the
now
whole
who is
man,
that? Now who is South African?
Trevor
Trevor.
Noah.
Trevor Noah.
Oh yeah. Right. Okay.
See, and that's, you know, what that would bring back into that conversation too
And
would
his
be
father.
Nelson Mandela when he came here. We don't talk about that. I mean, I remember going to Operation Push and
Mhm,
seeing this guy. I mean, and just to behold a man that give up 28 years of his life in
mhm.
prison because they tried to pay him to come out of there. You know, our young people don't get a chance to talk about or hear about those who made these major sacrifices. We you know, they're getting all these icons that didn't really sacrifice nothing. You know, they became icons because of their music or whatever. You know, so that's Trevor Noah is great. I'm glad you brought him up.
I'm trying to
Oh,
nail down a date for when Brandon Johnson and Paul Vallis can come to this platform. And of course, you mentioned the young people that want to ask questions of the candidates. Have we had some specific things that youth have talked about? I know that, well, today, as you know, Willie Wilson endorsed Paul Vallis, and they talked
Oh
about. He
oh,
no.
did.
yeah.
Yes, he did. Yes,
Oh,
yes,
no.
yes.
He endorsed Paul
Well,
Valor.
this really
Endorsed
shouldn't
Paul
come as a
Oh,
Vallis.
my
surprise
heart is.
because in the
Oh
2020
man.
elections, Willie Wilson has historically supported Republicans.
He is a
And I
Oh
think
my
Republican. He
gosh.
is
he
a
attrib-
Republican.
he attributes
But
it to
I
his
mean,
love.
but today he should be a human.
He should not. He
Well,
should be a black man
Listen,
today.
no,
That's what
well,
his
this is
listen.
what
problem
he
is.
You
This
said.
got
asshole.
you got Republicans that they die hard and they're not going to flinch no matter how they know that person is affiliated with the alt-right, the Ku Klux
Well,
Klan.
he supported Trump, so why
Right,
would he not support
right.
Trump's lackey?
But see, a lot of black folks didn't know that he was Republican. Did
Right.
anybody
Taking
on
his
here know
gas,
that
I
he
guess.
did? Let me ask this
You
question.
know,
Did
he had
anybody
too
on
much.
here, did anybody on here know that he was didn't know that he was a
Willie
Republican?
Wilson has too much money not to be Republican when you consider the kind of tax breaks.
That's not
that
the
people-
question I asked.
But
I
I'm
asked,
explaining. You know
is
what? If we understand why our people do what they do, we let everyone else analyze us, and we don't analyze us. I There are a lot of Republicans in my family, you know,
mine as
and
well.
got mad at me because I was happy because JB Prisker won, and not the other guy, and they got mad at me, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, this is America. First, we got to people don't know what democracy is. He has a right to be a Republican. He has too much money not to. So when he's giving that money out, it is he I've heard him say it's his tithes and it's also
Mm.
them tax break money. That's our
No,
money anyway. He's just giving
no,
it
no,
back.
no. Willie Wilson has a foundation. And so when you receive millions of dollars in your foundation, you can give it away. And so I wouldn't be surprised that he didn't give not one dime of his money away. He gave the foundation money away, and he has that ability. And
Well,
so
now,
it looked good on the news, but the reality is that he is who he is.
Wow.
Here's the deal when it comes to the endorsement. Dr. Willie Wilson's campaign manager was attorney Richard Boykin. Richard Boykin was on the Cook County Board of Commissioners until he was defeated by Brandon Johnson, who Tony Preckwinkle backed in order to get rid of Richard Boykin. Because they had conflicts. So naturally, if Willie Wilson's campaign manager is enemies with Brandon Johnson, he would endorse Brandon Johnson. So that's the bad. And of course, him and Paul Vallis are good friends. And at the press conference today, Willie Wilson said that they see eye to eye when it comes to the crime issue. Now, we know when people say words like crime and public safety, it's almost code words for young Black men that we're
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
So how do we address that? How do we get young Black men to address it when we bring them on a forum like this?
Yes.
At one of the latest forums,
you know,
Willie Wilson was known for saying, and he was basically railed against by J. Mal Green for saying, he literally said, it's a quote, he said, hunt them down like dogs.
Yeah, I was in the audience when he said that.
And when you say something
like rabbits,
See,
rabbits.
He's still in the 60s. The guy is old and he's still in the 60s.
He's and this is where you
this is he boss daily.
You get
He
this
problem daily.
with Black Christian politicians, and I'm Black, I'm Christian, I'm not a politician, but when you get Black Christian politicians, you mix those three, you almost get this archetype.
Yes, absolutely.
They embrace this idea that, oh, when Dr. King died, racism died with him. No.
Okay.
No, that's not the case.
I know they could not even think that.
No, you know what though? You have to remember only 2 churches in the city of Chicago allowed Dr. King to speak.
Exactly.
So Chicago never embraced Dr. King, but the Chicago walked in the glow of Dr. King.
We failed to even teach that Dr. King lived in the city. He lived in Lawndale.
On the west side. That's right. The beloved community.
But you get this ideology that Black Christian Republicans love to embrace. You get people like Byron Donalds, who they nominated for Speaker of the House. These people are crazy because they don't live in a reality that is their own. Because as soon as they walk out of that house, whether they're Republican or Democrat, they're still going to be a Black person. When you drive down the car or driving the road,
TJ, would you say that again? Because I don't think they knew that.
Exactly. When they walk out of their home, they're still going to be Black. When they're driving down the road and that police officer sees them in that nice fancy car they have,
on now.
That's what they are. They're still Black. And so what's going to happen? Black. They're going to get pulled over whether they have a suit on or a tracksuit on. They're going to get pulled out whether they have a suit on or a tracksuit on, whether they make $50,000 or $15,000. And it's going to be the same treatment. So we've allowed them to try to run our country, and then they teach their kids this. They're telling their kids. Some politicians say my kids are 100% Black, 100% white. Well, that's not math, sir. So that can't be the case.
That's not America.
And I think this is why it's so important that if you have people influencing the election, and then you have some Black people that say, well, I'm not telling anybody who to vote for, then we are not using our ability to influence. That's a real word. Influence is something that, we can have and we can use if we understand what this election really means. And bringing the young people to the table so they make a decision. So again, the question would be, how do we do that? We need to create some kind of circular where when we're dealing, there's a huge forum at UIC next either the 14th or the 15th. We've got buses leaving the west side to go. And probably
Who's going to be there?
this is supposedly Vallis and Johnson.
Oh, okay, both of them.
Right. And so this is a huge forum. This is a huge forum. So, and then I heard that there's another one on the south side. And this is CC News media opportunity to have media coverage, to have our information that we're coming up with. And so that's just strategy that I think we don't probably need to wait until next week to talk about. I think this should be ongoing until we have the rally that we are working on, and this get out the vote movement.
So you
TJ talked earlier about having one on the south side at South Shore Cultural Center, and we're talking about having one at the Garfield Park Gold Dome. So we'll see how that goes.
So you're looking at next, I think you said the end of March during some kind of youth rally. Is that what the?
We haven't decided when. I think we do need to have that kind of time frame. I'd say either the third or the fourth week, because that next week is going to be that Tuesday. So I think either the 25th as a weekend date, but in the meantime, whatever else we are able to do to have these kind of conversations, if it's just a youth only, if we could find 5 youth to bring to a Zoom and see exactly what it is that they want and how we can start to build that that youth base to come out, because a lot of them are not even registered, and there's a window for registration. I think it's does anybody know, is 26th or some date in March? That's the last date to register to vote.
I think they said the 23rd, but I'll look it up while you all continue to talk.
Right. So that's going to be significant, because having a rally, after that date is, our purpose is to get them to come out and vote and register. So now that, when Wanda finds that date out, then that will probably determine when we need to have this event and all the other things that we need to do in between time.
Lavette, do you know, or are you all affiliated with Anchor Chicago, Hyson Harper?
No, what is that?
Okay, now this guy is affiliated with, it's a West Side organization on Laverne, in that area between Laverne and Madison, Adams. You know where Moore Park is?
Mm-hmm.
I have gone to some of his events, and his Juneteenth event
at Moore Park.
And it's at Moore Park, but there is a strong concentration of young people and millennials and zennials in that area, and they're very close. I mean, that for me, that's the community that I was raised in, with that community mindset. Mm-hmm. And so he might be a good person. I don't know, should I just connect him to you?
Right. Because Carl Vick is a friend of mine that has a lot to do with the advisory council there. We're part of Carl Vick's advisory council. So yeah, give me the information and we'll see. Because Carl's also over the NAACP, so that'll be a
Right.
good connect. So
Yeah.
you can send it to Wanda.
Okay. And what about the Institute of Nonviolence? Do these organizations talk to each other? Because I've been affiliated with everybody, but I don't, nobody seems to talk to one another.
And you know what? And that's the conversation we had today at Exodus was about Institute for the Institute. They're right around the corner from them.
Right.
And I was questioning and I was asking, like, what is it that they're doing? Because these nonprofit organizations are really reaping the benefits off of saying that they are crime preventive organizations, and I think that they're just really getting a lot of administrative money because I'm
well, I worked there for a while. I left in May, but they do a great deal. They really do. Just the gear itself, because they've grown. They started small with right next door to Alderman Mitz in her office, and then they grew over there, and they now have a back of the yards office. They have I think they're in, I don't know, they've grown because they were growing.
Why don't you reach out to them and see how they can work with us?
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Okay,
and work with you for this, and you're talking about getting a forum together for young people, because on top of them is the Metropolitan Family Services as well, and that's a school up there.
Okay.
So they try to take children, get the kids who are most at risk for gang violence, and bring them in. So they do get a stipend, and there's good work going on in there because I was in there.
That's good to know. That's good to know.
Yeah. And the West Side Health Authority, them too, aren't you connected with them, Livette?
With Vanessa Stokes. She's doing a lot. So I will definitely reach out.
Okay. Kennedy Reed, and she is definitely a millennial and up and coming. She's around in that Pat Easley. You know Patricia Easley, right?
No, but that's Kennedy Reed, REED.
West Side Health Authority.
Okay.
And Patricia Easley, she has a show on WVON.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe we're gonna have to be catalysts to pull them together, because people are not talking to each other. They go in a million different ways, and even if they are voting for it, it doesn't matter. We have to get them in the movement of voting. They got to get in the game. That's the thing. It's not being in the game that's the problem.
Right. They have to learn Chicago politics. They have to learn Chicago politics.
And we've also got to get the stats on these people out in comparison. We've got to find out the pros and the cons, and it's a lot of negative stuff that I'm hearing about Vallis. And I'm not saying that Brandon Johnson is the angel, but we've got to be able to tell what is of interest to us. Every ethnic group has an interest. Every community has an interest. Every race has an interest. And when it comes to Black people, we're so divided in our interests. And if we could just find 3 common things that we agree to, that this is the thing that we want to fight for. If it's 3 to 5 or whatever, we're sort of all over the place. We've got to get something mainstream that we need answers to, and we want to know if we can get the support of.
Livette, West Side children are not for sale. They're not commodities. And so when it comes to Paul Vallis, I had just began teaching in 1990. He was the superintendent of Chicago Public Schools. This one statement changed the entire trajectory around the people I was working with. I don't care how wonderful they are and how much they donated. He said, if Chicago Public Schools were a business, it would be bankrupt. So many people embrace that business model. The problem with the business model is children cannot be a commodity. If a child is, that means we ended up with a assistant principal that's supposed to be, oh God, he's going to fix everything. Now, he didn't go in no classrooms. He didn't engage any kids, but he said half. If you can just get half, well, what about the other half?
Right.
In other words, that told the teachers, whatever you're not doing, if there was no collective movement toward education and academics, as if they're intellectually subordinate. So when you keep telling somebody who they're not, they'll believe it. And at the same time, they'll teach you too.
And that's the story we need to share, because just like what Lightfoot did, all of her, I don't know if people saw the ads. I saw the ads repeatedly. And her ads were totally against Chewy and Brandon. I did not see one negative ad against Vallis from Lightfoot. And that's what really upset me with her, because I was, on the fence with both of them. And I kept looking like, okay, when are you going to run an ad against Vallis? And it was always, and I see the strategy in it, because she probably thought those were the two people that she was in competition with, and that she had to do that. But it backfired. So,
but you know what, Lavette, one of the things, now I take my wig off to Lori for being able to stay in the same room with those monsters. You remember the Vidoliak Nine?
Yeah.
They wouldn't let Harold Washington do anything. For her to be a woman, this is a mean city. Those guys are, it's like being, just even the fact that she survived them, that's the way I felt about Barack Obama. He got out of that office without dying. We know how this country behaves. It's not new. We act like they brand new gangsters. They've been gangsters all the time. This is not new.
Come on, Karen. They've been gangsters all the time.
Yeah, so that's why we pray for them. We pray for all of them, because we know, Black women used to be intercessors. We interceded. We have stopped interceding for each other. And so, because I get really excited about it, because Marva Collins stepped out of CPS and she was doing this magnificent job with them kids in the neighborhood. They went and got, oh my God, she is still a Black newscaster, but you don't hear about her. She took Marva Collins out. That's what Black on Black crime is. They're always going to get somebody, or somebody, there you go, to jump on somebody Black. Lori didn't have no choice. She wasn't in there on her own steam. Maybe.
And I think that's why she didn't get reelected, because she was never elected to anything. She was always appointed. So
brand new. Yep.
So I think that, she made big mistakes that stood out. And I didn't judge her based on woman, man, whatever she wanted to be, but it was about the integrity of some things. And what tilted a lot of people away from her when she housed immigrants. And that was COVID money that had been allocated to fix these buildings up for the homeless that was already here. And so that didn't sit well with a lot of people. And then right at the end of her mayoralship, she went to O'Hara and kicked all of those people out on the street with nowhere to go. And so when you see that as a visible, then you make your choices accordingly. And I would just get so angry every ramp I went down, and it was so bad. And as I passed the expressways and saw so much trash and litter, and the only thing I could think of is I've never seen this like this. And that's the honest God truth. So I base my vote on the many, many things that I saw, from the construction going on through the city, south and west side, where you're going through craters and people tearing up their cars because, was it sabotage? I don't know. Was it people that just wasn't working with her? Then those are the people that she appointed. So the buck has to stop with her. And so I don't think that some people just didn't like her because she was woman, lesbian, or whatever she was. I think that she just didn't do the job.
You know something, Livette, you know something, and I understand that, but I think the real important conversation for us to delve into and spread with the young people is that Harold Washington movement, because that was a movement. I remember when that man was invited to DePaul University by the DePaul Law School. You know, he graduated from Roosevelt University. And so I'll never forget, and that's when you didn't have this major LGBT power system, but it's a power system now. And I remember this little bitty gay guy stood up and in the rotunda, because we were in the round with all these lawyers, and you know how lawyers actually go to acting school to pretend like they know what they're talking about, you know. But anyway, it was just a heavy group. He was in the middle of it, and he said, "Are you going to support the gay and lesbian community?" And for him to even have the nerve to say that amongst all those people, you know, and I mean predominantly white, you know, guys too, you know, and Mayor Washington said, everyone is going to be treated justly and fairly, you know. So a lot of people who have power, such as the Hispanic community, the gay and LGBT, they got it up under his administration, you know. So does that mean he's bad? Because when you go into like Disney magnet schools, a lot of those upper middle class white people feel like it's Dr. King's fault that all of these new people are here. You know, they're blaming Dr. King. So we do have like a cornucopia of people saying it's his fault, it's his fault, it's his fault. When at the end of the day, you know, we just want to get a person in who's going to represent the people. And the people are at the bottom. People are not at the top.
Ladies, we have a new caller on the line, and since we're over time and this is going to be our strategic planning session to bring the youth out, to tell us that we want you to help us understand what we need to do to bring the youth out, so that this election, we elect who we want to be the mayor of Chicago. And we want our youth to tell us who that should be. We have a new caller, 5187. Introduce yourself and welcome to the show.
Thank you. God bless you. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Hi, everybody. I've been listening, from the beginning of when the show first started. I am Darva Watkins, and most everybody know me, political consultant, and for over 40 plus years. Did everything in the community from A to Z. I don't want to get into that because you have time. But what I wanted to say is that I'm hearing everything you guys are saying. We are having a meeting on the 18th on the west side at the Austin Library. We basically are doing other meetings across the city and the county of Cook County for our Black. Remember, we are Black in Chicago, Blacks in Unity. And so what our organizations are doing, we have the 12 Just Us entities, which consists of 12 executive directors as well as 12 honorary board members. And Wonder is part of what we are doing. And also we have another caller. He's listening. He's from the West Side also. And Maurice, he has youth as well as I have a youth organization called the New AOL. He had the Sawyer Foundation, and he does the Black Town on the West Side. In reference to the election and things of that sort, I did support Lori at the end, the Women Are Rising Ministries, which we have, our other organization. But Brandon Johnson, him and Dallas, I'm still debating on both of those guys. And the reason why, because I do, I know the background and history. A good friend of mine did the street piece for the field operations for Brandon. I am trying to meet up with some of his people in his campaign office. So I will be talking to them. I have sent them messages. My friend that's on the piece, where he got on the piece on the beginning. He did the street piece and asked me to come with him to do the notary and the signatures. But the union got involved and everybody else, so I stepped away and decided to go ahead with Lori instead of with Brandon. So he's with Brandon, so he's going to be talking to me about some things also. So I wanted to say that we are doing meetings. I have met with spoken with all of the Black elected officials. That's what we've been reaching out to, the ones in the West Side as well as the South Side. And even with the incumbents as well as the runoff potential aldermen also. And so whatever you guys need us to do with the Women on Rising and the Men on a Mission as well as the Ford Foundation, and we have 12 other organizations and that is well known in the city. It's a total of 24. So whatever you need us to do, Wanda, we are here to support you by any means necessary. I will keep you guys updated on what role I'm going to play, but I'm also dealing with so many other runoff people that are candidates are in office. I'm dealing with those people also, as well as my alderman and my state rep both ran for mayor. So basically, I'm going to be working with the person that came that's in the runoff with my mayor. My mayor did not win. My alderman did not win, but her chief of staff, he ran for alderman. So I'm dealing with a lot of different things. But we definitely need to meet and do what needs to be done. Whatever we can do, I'm doing a lot of social media with all of the elected officials and the people in the runoff. And organizations, like you said, we want to get the organization together. We want to get the youth, and that's where we can come in also. But I think that the seniors are also important because seniors always vote. And so I just wanted to close with that to say that I just know that between Dallas and Brandon, Brandon is tied to Tony Prewinkle, and Dallas is tied to everybody else. You all know that. Jesse and all of them, they're going with Dallas. And, hey, Justin, Tony Prewinkle, and everybody else. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to repeat history from 40 years ago when I first worked on my first campaign with the late Mayor Harold Washington. And when it was time to go to the split when he passed away, and I told my aunt, because she got me involved in politics from the West Side, and I said, I don't even know what to do. I was young, 22, quite naturally. And so it looks like history repeats itself, and we're about to do the same thing, and we're going to get somebody in office that we don't want in. And so what I'm going to do with our organization, our prayer, we got to pray about this. This is something that God has to step in now. You might not, people don't believe in God, or well, that's on them. But the only way we're going to come out of this is through prayer, and God has to step in to do what needs to be done. And that's what's going to happen. Just like with, in the Bible with King David and Saul. So this is the same thing kind of like, And so I just say that we're going to have to pray this out, and whatever we can do to help you guys can join us, we can join you, but let's make this thing happen across the city. God bless.
All right. And what I'd like to just, because I know the show is about to close, I want us to understand that we need to talk about these candidates, not just that one of them is going to win. We need to talk about their characters. We need to talk about what we know about Brandon Johnson. If you know something negative, say it. If you know that Vallis is connected with the FOP, the most racist organization, if you know that Vallis is tweeting and liking racist tweets, if you understand that he destroyed the schools across the nation, we need
Yes,
to
he
tell the
did.
truth to shame the devil. And so we don't need to just say one is going to win over the other. We need to tell the history of these two people. We need to
Thank you.
speak about who is doing righteous things and who is against us, who is history that we know, and that we know this is vile. We can't say that this man was great across the nation, as he was fired from all the positions that he's worked in. And I'm talking about Vallis. We don't raise somebody up to a level of respect when he deserves no respect. So we need to tell this to our young people and let them choose for themselves by knowing the characters of these people. And so God has given us a discerning spirit, and we need to just recognize that, pray, and then make the right decisions and talk about the character of these people, and stop repeating history over and over again, winding up at the bottom of the heap. So this is an opportunity to hold up that person that we know is righteous, and it ain't Vallis. So thank you, Wanda, for a great training.
Wanda,
Yes.
tomorrow at the Interfaith is calling for all faith-based.
What'd you say, Karen? You went out.
Oh, 116 South Central. Interfaith is calling for all faith-based leaders. This is a Go Brandon push. It's important that we stand up together and have our voices heard. We're looking for all of us to attend this tomorrow at 1 o'clock, March 9th.
Can you put it in the chat? Can you put it in the chat? And so
yeah,
people
sure
can get it? Okay.
Let me
Naima, let's hear from you. I know you got some comments.
Well, during the meeting, I've been corresponding back and forth with Paul Vallis's people, because, I wanted to do a mayoral forum with both of the candidates, but I understand that there is a big event. Was it next Wednesday, the 15th at the U.S.? So they were suggesting the week of the 27th. So that would mean that next Wednesday of that week would be the 29th.
Okay, so they want to do the 27th?
Well, she said week of the 27th. So I said to her, well, Wednesday is the regular day for the media show that comes on. So I'm just looking for her to, email me back with a confirmation. I said, confirm ASAP, because, and she was saying he might not be able to do like 20-30 minutes. So ideally, we'd love to have both of them simultaneously, but I don't know, what do you think about if Paul Vallis was, say, from 6 to 6:30 and Brandon Johnson was 6:30 to 7, and both of them basically fielded the same questions from the youth, from the media, all of that. And, at the end of the night, we can just see who answered best.
What do you think? What do you guys think? What do you think, Livette? Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Yes.
I think whatever opportunity that presents itself,
we need to do it.
We just need to be prepared.
Yeah.
So
okay.
As soon as I get the confirmation, and we can solidify the people that will be involved in, inviting them, and then of course those that you specifically want to ask questions. Definitely all of our media associates and some specific youth you may have in mind that either may represent specific organizations or a certain part of town, or whatever the case may be, so that they questions from the young people, and especially talk about that whole crime thing, because that's always the way young people feel like being attacked by both.
Right. You're right.
So as soon as I get a confirmation, and I've been talking to also Brandon Johnson's people, so we want to solidify both of those that same night, and if they have to appear separately, that's fine, as long as we get a
We get
chance
them
to get
on.
questions answered. Yes.
Right. Okay. So, Levette, give everybody the update again on our efforts to do the youth rally at the Gold Dome, and then on the south side somewhere, and it was suggested that it be the Culture Club, South Shore
South Shore Cultural Center.
Culture Center. Okay, so the objective for us is to make sure that we get the youth out to come and register. The deadline, as I saw, was I think it was March 19th. Online registration. So we need to get them to register so they can vote.
Well, we're working with the registrar, deputy registrar, to have him at an event that we are proposing, so that there's on-site registration.
Okay.
Jerome on the line?
Yes, he is. He said
Jerome, why don't you just close us out with how you're going to approach the youth?
He said that he's on a government phone and it's not working.
Okay. Well, let me be the spokesman for Jerome. Jerome's great idea is to approach the colleges. And once he has that conversation with them, how to interject their thoughts and concerns, then we take that perspective as well. And that'll be a great group that he's going to reach out to. So, as I said, you all may get calls outside of this forum right here, because as this grows and we solidify some things, because everything is happening at warp speed right now. As Naima was saying, people are waiting on responses and connections and all of that kind of stuff. So we're excited to be a part of it. And let's see and make this happen.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to close this down. We're well over time, but we enjoyed the conversation. And I appreciate you all working with us as we strategically plan how we're going to elect our next mayor of Chicago. Thank you for your contributions. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow night as we continue our discussion about Chicago and the mayors, the people that are running for mayor. Thank you. Have a great evening, everybody.